just listen to it, dig it, okay? But do it like CSI. Like, all of a sudden, if you like this music, research it. Find out who are the musicians on this. And then, like, well, what do they listen to? And if you start really kind of going down that rabbit hole, and so maybe like there's the drummer who played on some band that you like, okay? Steve Smith, great rock drummer. If you really check him out, you'll realize that he went to Berkeley, and then he was into this guy called Tony Williams. And Tony Williams was this guy who used to play with Miles Davis. And Miles Davis, you start going down the rabbit hole, you'll find out the history will come to you if you really are that into it. And I think sometimes jazz is overwhelming to people because it's just too much. It's too deep and too heavy. I couldn't believe when I got with Count Basie, the main reason I took that job, I knew he was great, he was famous, but I just needed a job. Someone said there's a gig, I said I'll do this. And I kind of had to approach it almost like let me research this. And the deeper I got into it, that's when I discovered, wow, there's a lot of really cool things in here. But don't let this feeling of like, I've got to, read all the first Gospels of the Bible to know every scripture, to know, start where you are. Whatever you're listening to, just start there. But just keep going down the hole, and you'll find the history will come to you.
For me, I like to think about, I have a bunch of favorite pianists. It's not one or two, right? But each of them speak to me in a different way. It's like having a bunch of best friends. You listen to Gene Harris. Just feels so good, and then, Herbie Hancock, totally different sound, right? Duke Ellington. So, but instead of just asking yourself, who do you listen to? Who should I listen to? Another way to ask is, how? Right? So when I was younger, harmony was something that really drew me to music. There was a show on TV as a kid, I was like, wow, what is this chord progression? And I wrote the TV station and I said, I'm trying to figure this out. And the composer sent me the sheet music and I met him years later and over coffee and say thanks, But then later, getting into melody, and not just the melody, the transcription of solos, but the melodies of a song, what makes a song singable, right? And then later lyrics, playing with a lot of different singers, you hear the way that 3 different singers will interpret the same song, and you go, wow, these lyrics are deep, but they also allow the freedom to be expressed in so many different ways. So sometimes the way that we listen to something and it can open us up to expressing it in a different way. So that's the fun of it for me.
I was wondering, how do you guys think maybe jazz can be brought back into the mainstream?
It's in the mainstream.
I'm not so much worried about, one of my favorite movies in the world is The Matrix. I think that's a great movie, and on a lot of levels. I think, anything that's, if you talk to any doctor, they tell you like, well, what should you eat? You say, well, fruits and vegetables. Trying to get everybody in the world, if everybody was really into fruits and vegetables, we'd all be healthy. But it seems like there's a part of the population doesn't really want to do what's really good for them. I don't know why that is. I think that one thing I always noticed, and I've been here several times, this music is one of the greatest things in the world. It's survived countless over the years, it's all over the world, but this place is not packed. You would think something that's this wonderful, people should be, beaten down the door to get in here. You may have to recognize the fact that you may never be in the mainstream. In fact, when I was in school, people who really like jazz, they were like, either all the jocks and all the popular people, and then there was a tiny little group of people. I was in the practice room listening to Miles and Monk, and they all looked at me like something was really wrong with me. Okay, I don't know whether that's how people look at you, like you're this musician. You're not out. You're not going to the party. You're going to sit there and practice. What? You trying to get air through this little horn? Don't worry about the rest of the world. You can go out there and you can do amazing things. And if you look at people who really are really into something, usually it's not because everybody's got their back. Okay? Look on these walls and you really think about how many people wake up and think, man, I want to grow up and be just like Dave Brubeck. Ask your friends, who is Dave Brubeck? So, and yet, these people went all around the world, and here you are. What's with you guys? What is it with you that makes you think, that makes you realize this music is the truth? So don't worry about the mainstream. I don't think the world's ever totally gonna get it. If we live long enough, they might finally get hip, they might figure it out. But don't wait for them. You just go ahead on.